Hannibal TV on YouTube. Today we have a returning guest. His first interview is in the description of this video. Just don't mind the person behind him, but none other than WWE Hall of Famer, Memphis wrestling legend, the Birdman himself, and a great singer, Koko Beware. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing, man? I've been watching you, tuning in, and man, you have really come a long ways, man. I'm really proud of you.
I appreciate it, and yeah, we've known each other for a long time. We never wrestled each other, but I think about 20 years ago, I wrestled on a couple cards with you, and you were wrestling Greg Valentine and stuff. Are you still close with Greg Valentine?
Yes, whenever I'm around him, I'm pretty close. I don't call him a whole lot. I have reached out to him and stuff like that. You know, when I need something or whatever, and or just to say hello and stuff like that. Greg and I we just been great guys. I mean, buddies for a long, long time. I mean, he's living out there in Vegas, and he's pretty happy with it. I guess
Yeah, I heard he was going through some health issues, so hopefully those are doing better.
Yeah, I noticed that when he came to when they brought us back to Wrestlemania and gave us reward us for the what was it
Hall of Fame.
not the Hall of
Oh,
Fame, but
Saturday Night Main Event.
yeah,
Saturday Night.
the Saturday Night Main Event, a Legends contract, and all that stuff. And so uh, he was kind of just down and out just a little bit, but I finally got him perked back up and stuff like that. And then he was the old hammer that we used to seeing, and so he loved me for it and everything like that.
Is there any way you can flip it up to your face a little bit more? Because we just got your mouth and the shoulder. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, hold on.
No sunglasses today.
Oh, I can put them on if you need them
Oh,
on.
sure. Why not? It's up. No, it's up to you. I'm just joking. I just remember you always had those cool sunglasses in the '80s.
Yeah. Well, this time here I got some black ones. I wear them for a minute or two, and I take them off. Oh,
Yeah.
come here a minute.
Oh, there we go. Well, at least it froze at a time when his glasses are on.
There you go. Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
Now, how's that?
That's looking good. Nice smile on you. It's nice to see you smiling because it's been sad in wrestling lately. I don't mean to bring it down, but you were always known from that Hulk Hogan era. He was in your Piledriver music video. What are your thoughts on the? Oh, we lost the Birdman, but he's gonna be right back, folks. Coco beware, and he will take some fan questions tonight when he comes back. I remember him WrestleMania 6 doing that entrance,
Okay.
flapping
Okay.
his wings.
We're back.
We're back, yeah.
Let's start. Let's do that. Let's do it right this time.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on the passing of the great Hulk Hogan? I know you were close with him.
Yes, man. He was just like another big brother that I met in the wrestling business, and I'm sorry that he's gone, and he's gone on the glory. And I just want everybody just to, if you didn't like him, or if you liked him or whatever, still, you know, let's move on and get away from it, because I just hate for all the bad talk and stuff like that about Hogan or whatever. You know what? And true about it, I don't know. I don't know what he did. He was always nice to me, and unless he had a run in with someone, I can understand that. That's the wrestling benefit. But for his family, you know, I have no idea how he lived inside his house. And so I'm just saying, let's just leave that alone. Everybody just, just he's gone on. Ain't nothing he can do now. He can't defend himself at all. He can't talk back at all to nobody, even on his own wife and family.
Right.
So it just, but he was good. He was a good guy to me, and people said he said the racial marks and stuff like that and all that. But don't you know, Animal Man, the whole time that I was around Hulk, he never mentioned that word. That word never came up. The
Right.
N word. It never came up at all. And I met him in Memphis, Tennessee. And when he came into Memphis, I helped him and Beefcake. When they came into Memphis, I took them to my buddies. He had a ring set up in his backyard in a barn. And Eric,
We got Koko frozen here for a second, but it'll be back.
Hold on.
I lost you.
Hold on, we're back.
I'm sorry, I lost you.
Just hit the black. What you
Yeah.
gotta do, put the finger right on the black.
I just hold the black here.
Put the finger right on.
Okay.
So you were talking about the barn, training Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake in the barn.
Yeah, and I showed Hulk wanted to do. He was 300 pounds. He wanted to do all kind of high spots and all that. And I told Hogan, I said, "Oh no, you don't need to do all these high spots. That's my job. That's Beefcake's job to do the high spots and all that stuff." I said, you're 300-pound guy, and man, you can't get out there and try to drop kick and fly off the top rope and all that stuff. And he said, well, what can I do? I said, this is what you can do. I said, look here, you can run and clothesline the guy. You can slam the guy, hit the ropes, come back, and give him a big leg drop, and pin the guy. 1, 2, 3. I said, that's all you need. I said, other than that, you don't need to do anything else. I say,
So
but
you're the one that caused all of his back problems
no,
by giving him the idea for that.
I told him about it, but I didn't know it was going to cause any back problem. But he was real nice to me and stuff like that. I can't say that, and I just want us to.
I honestly think he was drinking that night. Honestly, he was when you're under the influence, and he didn't realize he was being recorded. So, well, it's not like he was making this statement out to the public and had all of his wits about him.
Well, you know what? You know what? I'm telling you. You know how we talk when we get full of that whiskey or whatever, or get too full of anything, alcoholic, whatever, marijuana or anything. You're not at your own self and stuff. But if he said it, you know what I'm saying. I know it didn't come. I can just say it didn't come from the heart, because he never said it to me in front of me.
Right.
At least I can say he respected me for not to say it, and I didn't do anything to make him mad to say it.
No. Speaking of marijuana, I heard he liked to smoke marijuana, which is pretty much legal everywhere. Did you ever get the chance to smoke a joint with him at any point?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I was just a young kid, and in the wrestling business, young, and I didn't get into all of that. I'm telling you, later on. Now I'm saying I ain't no saint, but I did, like I'm gonna be like Bill Clinton. I, I did smoke a little bit, but I didn't inhale.
What did you think about, like, you talk about Brutus and Hogan used to be best friends. They had that sad falling out for the last part of Hogan's life. Were you surprised that they didn't remain friends till the end?
Well, I didn't know it. I didn't know it till I was talking to some of the guys, and they said they don't get along no more and stuff like that. And when Hogan passed, I called Brutus, and me and him were just talking. I said, Brutus is, because it was us three all together down there in Memphis and stuff like that. And I said, now it's me and you, Brutus. I mean, he said, yeah, but it just goes back again, animal, that I want beef. I just want beefcake to let it go, because it's, I mean, the damage is over. Just let it go,
Yeah.
and move on from it, and all the other boys, just let it go, man. I mean, it just, if a person done deceased and stuff like that, that's the end of the rope.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing, and more you keep stirring it up, worse it stinks. And who's gonna be the better man, or who's gonna be the bad person sooner or later? Well, you're gonna be the bad person sooner or later, because that other person is gone.
That's true.
Yeah. So it just, man, we all hated for him to go, but we all got to go that away one of these days. And like I said, he had a good life, and we don't know the really cost of it or whatever. And I still don't even know when the funeral is going to be, or
Uh,
they done had it, or
no, they
what.
haven't had it. They released, the weird thing is they released the cause of death was a heart attack, but I guess he had cancer and leukemia as well. But the strange thing is they're not doing an autopsy for some reason. They don't want to know. I guess they're just going to trust it, and they're not going to spend $5,000 to 100% find out what happened.
Wow. Well, I see that. I don't know. This is some more news that I'm getting, that I didn't know he had that. So, and it just, well, let him rest in peace. All I can say, you know,
Yeah.
he he's a great, he's like everybody else.
There
We've
he
been
is
there.
on the set of your music video, Piledriver.
That's right.
Hogan, my good friend Don Morocco, Billy Jack Haynes, Vince McMahon, and Billy Graham.
Yes, yeah, they was out there, man. And I was on top of the building, cold as heck, out there trying to sing Pal Driver. Man,
What did you think? What's your reaction when they tell you, hey, you're going to sing the song that we're going to call this album, and you have all the biggest stars of the company in the music video?
oh man, I was really excited and everything. I said, really? And they said, yeah. And he said, you're gonna be on top of this building with a sludge hammer and a hard hat, and you're gonna be singing this song called Pile Driver. And man, and once we sung it in the studio and all that stuff, and got the words down, man, I took off with it and I ran with it, man. I just, sometimes I can be at home, and I'm singing it in the shower, or I'm singing it just humming it, while I'm shaving and kind of cutting my hair a little bit and stuff. I just love it, Sometimes love is like a slow dance. You can tiptoe around, but don't make a sound. You can make a little silence romance. Sometimes love feels just right. It feels so real. It feels just like a pile driver. Yeah, pile driver. See, I can go on and on with it, man.
Yeah. People think I'm joking when I say this, but when I was a kid, that was my favorite album. I loved all of the songs off of that album, and I just listened to it over and over and over again.
Yeah, oh yeah. There was a lot of good songs on there, man.
Jive
Golly,
Soul Bro was slick.
Yeah, was slick and everything, and even
You
Jimmy
only
Hart
knew.
had his little song in there, and
There
man,
you are in the music video with your sledgehammer.
yeah, that was it, man. Golly, I mean, I tell everybody, say, do you ever watch you ever see my video, Koko B. Ware's video? And they said, no, I haven't seen your video. I didn't know you had one out. They said, man, I got a video out. I'm the lead singer of this wrestling album, Piledriver. And they'd be tickle pink, man, when they hear it. They said, is this you? Oh my God, I can't believe it. I love it. I love it. But
Do you have any stories from the taping of the music video?
well, you know what? It took us all day long, and because we had to go over and over and over just for a 4-minute segment or 3-minute segment. It took us all day long to shoot this thing, and I didn't know, it was going. I didn't think it was going to take that long. But they're gonna say stop, cut. Okay, wait a minute, we got to do this over. We got to do that, and then it was break time and all that stuff, and then wow, it was just something else, something different. It was just something different that I experienced. That the Power Driver song it took that long just for 3 to 4 minutes.
As far as Vince McMahon that day, did you become friends with him? I heard you say before you worked out with him, but were you pretty close with him to have him in your video?
Well, it started out, yes. I worked out with Vince McMahon in the gym and stuff like that, and Vince and I, we was getting on pretty good, But for some reason, he just completely just turned. I mean, I mean, he gave me my 2 weeks notice. I mean, no, he didn't give me my 2 weeks notice that he was supposed to give me when they when they when they get rid of you, when they're ready to get rid of you, they supposed to give you your 2 weeks notice like the contract says.
Right. What was
So,
the contract anyway? Well, you can finish the story, but then I'll ask you about the contract.
well, the contract is just is that they got they supposed to let you, give you plenty of time to find somewhere else to go, or and give you your notice where you can find somewhere else to go in a short period of time, and you got to give them a like a good week's notice or 2 weeks notice that you're leaving.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So, and that never happened. Well, Vince told me, and this is the God's truth. I went, we was doing 2 towns a night and stuff like that. And then I said, Vince, my name is not on the sheet nowhere. And he looked at me. This was in Madison Square Garden one night, and he looked at me and said, "Well, Koko, man, I got to weave some of you guys out, and I'm sorry, but I got to get rid of you. I got to let you go." And I'm going, really? With no notice, Vince? And then Vince turned around and looked at me, and everything got quiet. He said, Koko, he said, I would fire my own mother if I had to. He said, maybe I'll see you down the road. And I said, okay. I mean, I didn't wander off, and crying and going on and act, oh, Vince, don't do this, don't do that. No, I just took it. Hey, I said, oh, okay. All right. All right, Vince, I'll see you later. Thank you. Thank you for using me.
How long had you been with him at that point?
What it was
5 years?
79. I left in 94. So I was there from 84. I mean, yeah, 80, 86 to 94.
Okay. So you weren't. It wasn't over the thing that you had. Didn't you have some fight with one of the agents when someone else started the fight, but you ended up finishing the fight? Because we always hear that was the reason.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the whole true story, and this what took place because I know that I know there. I heard there was a lot of rumors, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was
The guy was a
Troy,
hockey fighter, right? It's not
yeah,
like he was just a suit. He used to be a defenseman. And
right.
yeah.
This Troy guy, it was Vince's executive of the company, and we was over England or somewhere, and we was at this bar one night, and they getting food and drinking and going on, and they had a piano there. Well, I took over on the piano, and I started with just playing songs and stuff, and playing and uh, and the bartender, well, the owner of the bar came over and said, "Koko, do you mind going over and stopping your guys from fighting over here? I think they're getting ready to fight. I don't want my place all busted up and everything." It was Shawn Michaels and Jim Troy.
Oh
They
wow.
was they was nose to nose with
You
each
were
other.
buddies with the Rockers, right? Marty told me you guys are buddies, right?
Yeah, yes, oh, yeah. We was good friends and stuff like that. And so well, I didn't think nothing about it. I went over there. I said, "Come on, guys. Hey, man, we way over here." I said, let's don't get in trouble. Let's don't do this, man. Come on, we'll get locked up over here and we'll never get out. And Jim Troy was all in Shawn Michaels' face, and they were spitting each other's face and all that said. And then when I came over there, that Troy said, "Now here's another MF that don't have no damn guts." And say, "I'm gonna see if he got any guts. Here's another MF." And I'm going, "Come on, Troy, let's break this up, man." And he said, "You know what? You guys are nothing but damn cowards or whatever. Vince McMahon pays me a whole lot of fucking money and to put over with you phony ass fucking wrestlers." Woo. Well, before then, he done had trouble. He done had problems with Huck over there already. Cause Huck was, he said, "Koko, man," he was telling me about it earlier about him. He said, "Man, I feel like just slapping the hell out of him big time." And I hate to use those words in vain like that, but that's sometimes when I talk about it, I could just look at Jim Troy the way how he's saying it. So, wrestling fan, excuse me of my saying these words, but anyway, he turned around and haul off and was talking, and he said, "Vince McMahon pays me a whole lot of effing money to put over with you phony ass wrestlers. I'm a hockey player. I'm a lot tougher than you phony ass wrestlers." And I said, "Okay, Troy, I understand that." I said, we over in this country. We're not in the United States. I said, "Come on, man. Let's
This
let's
is
get
him,
out of here."
right? This guy beside Vince, that's him.
Yes. And I said, so he turned around again. He said, "Well, let me see if you got any guts and all that stuff." And then he hauled off me and slapped me. When he slapped me, that's when everything just came out of me and just said, "Was Troy?" I said, "I'm not Jesus Christ. I can't turn the other cheek." And that's when I turned around and I just lit in on him big time right there. And then Sean was just standing there at the bar and wasn't saying nothing, you know. And I told Sean too. I said, "Sean, why didn't you fight the guy? Why didn't you stand up for?" I didn't want to get in trouble. I said, "He's spitting all in your face and everything and all that." And then when I told Marty, that's when Marty got mad at Sean, and they got into it. And so then now we get back to the store. Now we get back to we go to Paris. Jim Troy goes home. We go to Paris. Pat Patterson said, Koko, Vince is on the phone. He wants to talk to you. And I'm going, okay. So Vince gets on the phone. Koko, what the hell are you trying to do? Beat up my executive and everything. He said, man, what is wrong with you? You went crazy on him. He said, have you seen him? He said, man, you blacked his eyes out and everything and all that. I said, Vince, I said, can you listen to me? I said, I have my side of the story. Please listen to me, Vince. And Vince just kept going on and all that. And then he finally settled down and said, okay, what is your side of the story? And I told Vince, I said, Vince, I went over to break him and Shawn Michaels up. It wasn't my fight. Troy was Troy was crazy. He said he didn't have to put up with the phony ass wrestlers and all that because, he puts up with them because you pay him a lot of money. You pay him a lot of money to put up with this phony ass wrestler. He's a hockey player. He's a lot tougher than the phony ass wrestlers. I said, I didn't fight him for that. I fought him because he turned around and slapped me. I said, Vince, what am I supposed to do? And so Vince said, well, I can't have this going on. I can't have my executive beating up on the wrestlers. I can't have the wrestlers beating on my executive. So why don't you pack your bags and you go home? I said, okay. So this is where my good friend Hulk Hogan came in at. Hulk Hogan, I told Hulk about what was going on. And Hogan said, really? He said, that's okay, Koko. Go ahead and go home. He said, but I tell you what, if I don't get you back, I said, if you don't come back in a couple of weeks, if you don't come back, I promise you that I will quit WWE WWF. I will quit. He said, when I talk to Vince, I'm gonna tell Vince, I will quit if you don't bring him back. You know what? He brought me back.
Wow.
2 weeks later, I was back in there. They was calling me and all that stuff. But see, that's what I'm saying. Terri never forgot. I was good to Terri, and he knew I was. I helped train him and everything, but I stood up for what I believed in and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not the toughest guy in the world or whatever, but I always will say this, Hannibal, that I was. It's like this: you don't know how you look until you get your picture took.
Right.
So, I mean, if you know you're in the right, my dad will always say, you just die and go to hell or somewhere and stand up for your right. But when you're in the wrong, take the big lick, take the punishment, whatever it is, take it and get it out of the way. So, and that's how that happened with Jim Troy and me.
And another guy you beat up is a guy that I actually met since the last time I interviewed you, and I understand why you beat him up was Paul Roma. So thank you for doing that.
Well, hey, you know what? I didn't. You know what? I still, when I get when a fight like that, I don't feel like I beat him up or anybody up and stuff like that. Uh,
Because you're
and Paul,
co-workers, right?
right? And Paul and I, we're good friends now because I went apologized and he apologized and stuff like that because he knew he was wrong when he came in Chicago and he told this black woman, this janitor, because he said, where's the dressing rooms at? And he said, well, this she told me, says, well, this guy with the bird, Koko Beware, is in this room here, and he said, who in this room? Koko Beware. He got the parrot right here, and he said, well, his name is not Koko Beware. His name is Buckwheat. And I heard that, and I went to address it with Paul, and I pulled Paul to the side. I wasn't fussing with him. Wasn't arguing. Didn't call him out his name.
Oh, you froze. I'm so, maybe Eric can help you. We'll get the end of this Paul Roma story that numerous wrestlers have confirmed it with me.
Hold on.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, there. Yeah, I said, Paul, why'd you call me Buckwheat and all that? I said, man, you don't know me like that and stuff like that. Well, that's what you are, And he just got smart, and then that's when we just kind of had a round or two in Chicago, and that's when everybody was still pulling me back after I was on top of it. But I don't, but Paul Roma, I mean, he's he's okay. I mean, it's
I
just
know
like,
you're religious, so you don't. We know what you're gonna say, but you don't have to put him over to me because I've dealt with them before. But another guy someone's bringing up here is Steve Kern. Apparently, you went a round or two with him as well. I didn't hear about that one ever.
oh my God, man, this word gets around, doesn't it? This was happening in Memphis. I mean, here it is. We walk Steve Kern and Stan Lane as the fabulous ones. They showed up in Nashville, Tennessee, and they wasn't even booked on the card. And they was booked down in a little small town down below Memphis called Halls, Tennessee. And they had like an $8,000 gate down there waiting on the Fabs to show up. And the promoter was going crazy, which was Eddie Marlin. He was going crazy. Where's the Fabs at? Where's the Fabs at?
Is that Jerry Jarrett's father-in-law?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And so, and he said, "Where's the Fabs at?" And the Fabs was in Nashville, messing with me. So when Steve Kern walked in, there was Bill Dundee, and Ricky Morton, and Paul Morton, Ricky's dad, and they was all. And I just noticed Dundee was like white as a ghost, man. I'm talking about. I never seen he used to spit tobacco, but this time here he was just going back and forth, just spitting and spitting and spitting in this can. And he was, I guess, was all nervous, I guess. And when the Fabs came in, of course, I was already there. I sat down over there in the chair, and Steve Kern came over and said, "Koko, come here a minute. Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Who give you the right to go out there and dance and play your music and all that stuff?" And I told him, said, "Steve, Jerry Lawler is the booker. He the one told me to go out there and dance, and Lawler wanted me to go out there and get over and stuff like that because because there's 99% black in Memphis."
Yeah.
And so
you were over like crazy in Memphis too. Bill Dundee told me himself when I interviewed him how big a star you were there.
Oh yeah, and that's what happened. And Steve was just saying, and Steve, I went over to the shower. I just stepped through the shower. It was a little small shower, and I stepped through there, and I put my hands on the top bar, on both of my hands. I put him over the top bar, and I turned around, and I was just leaning, listening to what Kern had to say and all that stuff. And so Steve Kern said, when he was talking, I said, Steve, I'm not doing nothing if without Lawler and them or telling me. I said, he trying to do something with me and all this stuff, because he wanted to push me with the black crowd and all this stuff and stuff. I said, what's the problem, Steve? What's going on? And Steve said, oh, no, there ain't no problem. There ain't no problem. He said, I just wanted to know. I said, oh, okay. And do you know Hannibal? He turned around and I had both my hands on the bar, and Steve turned around and made a real fast turn and sucker punched me. Bam. Well, at that time, I went back in the shower. I didn't go down. I went back in the shower. The shower came on, cold water and stuff. And then I realized, I said, are you trying to fight? Are you trying to fight me? I said, Steve, wait a minute. No, heck no. And I started getting really a whole lot madder than heck, man. And I just started got on Steve and then Ricky Morton, all of them want to pull me off of Steve and all this stuff, So, and that's really it was about the size of it. As far as me just knocking him down and beating him up and stuff like that, I didn't really do all of that. But I did get the best. I did get a shot in, and I did, I did what I was supposed to do. I got his attention.
Right. Yeah, I don't find him to be a very honest person in my dealings with Steve Kern. I don't really like him.
And then I told Steve, I was so mad and everything, and there was a guy named Sonny King. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
The name sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, he met me in Memphis, and the Fabs was in the dressing room, and he's asked me, he said, Koko, are you finished? Or do you feel okay? What happened in the dressing room Saturday night? I said, no, I still feel like I want to get even with him because he sucker punched me instead of just looking at me and haul off and hit me as a real man supposed to. But he tried to catch me off guard.
Right.
And so I went in. And so Sonny King said, Koko, there he is. Go get him. And I went over. I said, Steve. And about time I was getting ready to draw back to
This
hit him.
is Sonny King, by the way, for any of the fans.
Yeah, and Sonny King, and he turned around, and when I draw back to hit him, Eddie Marlin grabbed my arm and said, Koko, no, stop, don't do that. Little man gonna fire y'all stop, don't do that. So we left on out of the room, and I told Steve Kern then, I said, Steve, don't you ever say nothing to me no more the rest of your life. And I said, if you do, it won't be no fight this time. It's gonna be some real serious problem. And I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say. I told him that. I said, I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say, but do not speak to me no more. I am done with you. I am really, really done. And he at WrestleMania, we had WrestleMania down in Florida, and that's where me and Steve he came and made up to me.
A recent one in the one in Tampa a few years ago.
Yes, it was in Tampa a few years ago, and he made up. And you know what? And that's what I told him. I said, "Hey, Steve, you know good and well it wasn't my fault. You knew that, and you knew that, but you went on and you did you thought, I guess you tried to impress everybody else." And I said, "No." I said, "Steve, man, I felt sorry for you when you even told this story about your father was a prisoner of war that they held over in some foreign country and all this stuff." I said, you did all this just to try to get over. You used your dad to try to get you over in the wrestling business." But I found out it was true. So that's the real part about it. And I said, and you and I never had no words. We never had anything like that. And you're gonna do something like that to me? Gonna come up and sucker punch me and stuff like that for no reason?
Yeah.
And I said, please don't say nothing to me no more. And then it was a long time before we finally made up. And he came and talked to me, "Koko, can I just talk to you a minute?" And just, and you know what? I just accepted it's just to see what he's gonna say. And he won't apologize. So hey, I believe in that, if somebody won't apologize for what they're said and all that stuff, that, I'm okay with it.
Did
But
Ric
if I was in the
Flair?
wrong,
Yeah.
huh?
I was just going to ask you if Ric Flair ever apologized to you. Because Bill Dundee said a story of one of the reasons why they never used Ric Flair much in Memphis is he was really mad about wrestling you one time when he was supposed to face Lawler, but they switched it and he was using the N word, I guess, backstage.
Now I'm gonna say this again. I love Ric Flair, and we get along great. Never had no words. But Ric Flair didn't know me. He didn't know me at that time. We never met, but we did an angle on Memphis wrestling with Bill Dundee. And if I had to beat Bill Dundee to get a title shot with Ric Flair on TV. That's how they did it.
Yeah,
So
it
when
was a
Ric Flair
surprise.
when Ric Flair got to town, a cab driver even told Ric Flair, say, "Hey man, you got your hands full tonight." And Ric Flair said, "Who is that?" He said, "You wrestling Koko Ware tonight." And the guy cause the taxi driver, I knew the taxi driver. He told me. He said, "No, it's he said, no." Ric Flair told him, said, "I'm not wrestling the Koko Ware. I'm wrestling Bill Dundee." He said, "No, you're not either. Not now. You wrestling Koko. Bill Dundee got beat on TV Saturday, and they gave Koko a title match. Well, you and Ric Flair said, "Really?" Dusty Rhodes was down there with Flair, and Dusty Rhodes said, "Man, we just got to go on with it. We just got to go on and do what we got to do, Flair. Just go ahead and go on with it." But that was a I guess Flair thought that they throw me in there, keep from Dundee doing the job for Flair, of doing the job for Lawler or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But when we
Did
got
he
out there,
he didn't say that to you though, right? You were not in the same room when he was throwing that tantrum.
oh no, he they was in the office, and Ric Flair, like I said, Ric Flair didn't know me, but then when Ric Flair came out, I seen him come out of the office. He said, "Where's Koko at?" He said, "Where? I need to see. I need to meet him. Where's he at?" And he came, and Ric Flair he was a pro with this. He came up to me and he said, "Hey kid, look like it's gonna be me and you tonight out there." And he just grabbed me by my in the dressing room, just grabbed my rolled my hair. I had this like Jerry Curl. It wasn't Jerry Curl. I didn't have a Jerry Curl, but he rubbed my hair. Thought I had Jerry Curl like Skip Young in Texas. He said, "Kid, you know what? It's one thing I like about you. You ain't got all that grease in your head like Skip Young." He said, "We just gonna go out there, and they tell me that you're nothing but a hot dog. You can go. You ready?" I said, "I don't know." I was just so humble and so excited about me and Ric Flair going out there. Here it is, 11,000 people in the Mississippi Coliseum, and we went out there. Managed by, and now Dusty Rhodes was my manager, and Flair went out there, called the match. He called it. I didn't say nothing. He called everything. And he looked, about 10 minutes went by. He looked at Dusty. He said, "Dusty, man, we got a good one. We got a good one right here, man." He said, "Oh, man, I like this kid already." So I put him over, and Dundee came down to cause the screw. Came and hit me and knocked me out with a chain or something. And Ric Flair just covered 1, 2, 3. What Ric Flair didn't like, because he should have beat me in like 1, 2, 3, without that.
Right.
So, but that's how that happened in Memphis, and that's how
Bill
me.
said he was happy after he wrestled you. He said that he regretted saying it, but because it was a great match.
But to throw about it though, I never did hear that, and even today, Ric Flair and I run into Rick or whatever, and Rick come up and give me the biggest hug and everything. Said, "Oh my Koko, how you doing, man? Everything, everything's going good. All this stuff."
Did
And
you
I'm
hear that he had been saying that though from the other wrestlers
no,
afterwards?
nobody even told me that. Nobody even told me that Ric Flair was using the N word. Well, I expect that out of the wrestling business anyway, because that's the way they talk back in the day, and they
Yeah.
probably still talk like that now. You get them behind closed doors, I mean, people
Did Bill
talk like
Watts
that.
talk like that? Because I know you worked for Bill Watts.
Well, Bill Watts, unless he talked like that with Jim Ross and the Grizzly, but I never heard Bill talk like that either. Like I said, they kept that quiet
Right.
unless they got, unless you made them mad. Now they didn't mind.
Yeah. Was there ever a rib played on you? Brian Blair tells the story, and I won't get into the story, but can you just say if it happened or not? Was there a rib played on you with Andre the Giant and Brian Blair once?
Yeah, there was one night, Brian Blair and Andre and all that stuff, and we was going somewhere, but we was in this big old rental van or something, and Blair's trying to hold me, while Andre's trying to mess with me and stuff like that, and I'm getting away from it and everything, and but I got away from Andre, and it did nothing
I'm
happen.
shocked that that's true. I was thinking there's no way that happened
Well,
with
hey,
Koko.
but I got away for it before
Yeah,
all like Andre. He was drinking wine and stuff like that,
yeah.
and laughing. Come here, boy. Come here. You know,
How would today's wrestlers be able to even last in the environment that you guys had to deal with like that?
no,
It's
I
so
don't think.
different.
I don't think so. I don't think they would last at all. It's a whole different ball game what it is now.
How did you get along with Andre overall? I'm going to guess after that rib, he probably got some respect for you for
Well,
handling it.
I got a whole lot of respect for Andre, and so uh, I mean, I didn't say too much to him because I didn't think he could really speak English, but he can, and stuff like that. But I know we was in a match with I had a battle. It was a battle royal with like and the last two was going to be Hulk and Andre the Giant, and so and I was in fact, it was three of us. I was the last one. Was Andre that was the last one, and then Hulk. Us three, we was in there. I said, I'm in the ring here with Hulk and Andre, and I said, oh my God. So what I did Andre didn't he didn't know what I was gonna do. So to get me out of the way, I ran and I jumped on Andre. I jumped on him, hoping he would throw me completely over the top rope to get me out of there, because I didn't want to be in the ring with them. I wanted to make it spectacular where here it is. I just jumped on Andre back and he just completely just picked me up and threw me over the top rope.
Wow.
And he got upset about it. He thought I said, "Oh, you messed us up out there. You jumped. What? Said, why'd you jump on me? You should have got out of the ring and all that stuff." I said, I wanted you to throw me out of the ring. I didn't want to get in there between you and Hulk Hogan. But he did. Vince said, so Vince came down there, and that's when I was explaining it. Vince came down there and said, "Well, Koko, I don't know why you did that." I said, "Vince, this is the reason why I did it, because I wanted to get out of the ring, and I wanted Andre to pick me up and throw me out of the ring, and I didn't want to mess their angle up at all, because I didn't have no business in there being last anyway." But I don't know how it happened, but yeah.
As far as the Ultimate Warrior, how was he behind the scenes?
Jim changed a whole lot after Vince and them, I guess, put a little money in his pocket, stuff like that. Gave him an opportunity to make some money and stuff like that. I mean, he turned on the boys. He didn't want to share rooms with the boys and stuff like that. I mean, the same hotel. I mean, he didn't want to do nothing like that. And man, it was just, he just turned out to, there's a lot of guys just didn't like him, and then some guys liked him. I mean, I didn't have no trouble with Jim at all. I mean, I liked him. You know, when he got a little break, and you got to remember when they came to Memphis, him and Sting as the Blade Runners, they didn't know nothing.
Right.
And then they went to Bill Watts. And then from Bill Watts, they left, they split up. And they went, I think Sting went to Dallas, I believe, and Warrior went to Vince.
Yeah, I think Warrior went to Dallas for a quick bit first, and didn't he? And then Vince, but it doesn't matter.
I think Warrior went to
Wasn't he the Dingo Warrior or something?
the Dingo Warrior went to Dallas,
Yeah.
and that's what it was.
Another guy that wasn't liked too much backstage was Terry Taylor. Did you notice that about him as well? That he was kind of stooge type.
Well, you know what? I saw Terry get in a fight with Jock Rougeau one time.
Oh, really? I never heard about that.
Yeah, Jock knocked on his door. Terry did something, I don't know. Terry did something to Jock, and Jock knocked on his door. And when Terry opened the door, Jock just punched him out.
Wow.
For some reason, I don't know. I don't know how this how
He was
I got
being a
started.
cock.
Yes. Yeah, but that's how Jock would do it. I mean, even with Dynamite Kid, I mean, in the lunchroom, he turned around and took a roll of
Were you
pennies.
there for that?
Yeah,
Jesus, what was your reaction to that?
everybody was just shocked. I mean, everybody was just. I mean, here it was. We was all just sitting there eating, and then next thing you know, Jock. Of course, I think Dynamite did something to him earlier,
Yeah.
and then and Jock and Pat Patterson all over, they were speaking French and all that stuff. And next thing you know, Jock done went over there and he laid it on him and he in the lunchroom, knocked up just about all his front teeth out.
So you're just sitting there, and that's just another day at work for you.
Yeah, I mean, we was all there eating lunch.
There's a fan here tipping $2. Thoughts on your matches with the evil doink, Matt Bourne?
Oh my God, yeah, he was okay, but Matt, I mean, he was the first dork, and I think that he was going to do a whole lot with him until he just completely uh he just went off his rockers or something. I don't know. It just yeah.
He was getting a big push.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He was getting a good push, and the kids love him. The kids love him and stuff like that. I mean, he was getting over, and they was feeling sorry for him. When the big guys had him down, beating on the clown.
For the Macho Man, was it true that he was really possessive about Elizabeth backstage, or is that exaggerated?
No, that he was. No, I can honestly say, Randy did not want you to be around Elizabeth if he wasn't around, and that was in the airports and everything. I mean, we would be waiting on a flight to come in. I mean, a flight to come in so we can go. Where you couldn't go up the list and ask her for an autograph.
Wow.
Without Randy. Cause Randy would cut a promo big time on these wrestling fans and whatever, and they was up there trying to get an autograph. And Randy's over there somewhere. He might be over there talking to one of the boys, but Randy will come over there and it was so funny. He would tiptoe around on his cowboy boots. Wait a minute. You got 30 seconds, brother, to get out of the danger zone.
Hey, is it true that he put lifts in his shoes and his running shoes, and you would hardly ever see him in bare feet because he didn't want anyone to know his real height?
I guess so. I you know what? I wasn't that close to Randy, so
Okay.
he was pretty. He was kind of weird. That whole powerful family was weird, man.
Did you see Lanny do his little trick that he used to like to do in the dressing room here and there? He admitted
Oh,
it.
oh yeah, yeah. He did it several. He did it once, several times, but that stuff like that.
What's your reaction? Oh, I'm gonna go put on my clothes and get the hell out of here. And you walk in the dressing room, and is that how it works? Is there like a group of people watching him go, go?
No, I don't. No, he sometimes it just. I guess he would just say he just felt like playing with himself and stuff like that. What he could do. I said, man, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
I
I
said,
knew him pretty well. He's entertaining, but he was definitely strange. What do you think about him dying? He always used to brag that he was so cheap and make fun of people that didn't save their money. Then he dies at 66.
yeah, I mean they got that from their dad. When used to come to Memphis, they had a Mercedes, and don't you know? all of them, Randy and Lanny and their father, Angelo, they used to, all of them sleep in the car and wait for them to open the Mid-South Coliseum.
Wow.
They would
So they
drive
could sleep
down and sleep
inside.
in the car all night.
I
And they
heard that they
did,
would go and take bread off of other people's table too at restaurants, just sit around, eat the bread, and then leave and not order
well,
anything.
yeah, I never did see that because other than that, I just knew they had a little gold looking, cream looking Mercedes, and the old man was he was. I'm telling you, his motto was, "I'd rather be rich than dead than poor and alive."
Yes.
That was his motto. He always told me. He
I'd
always
rather
said
be
that.
rich and dead than poor and alive. Yes.
Yep.
All right, last question because you've been great today and I really appreciate it. The Undertaker's first match. Is it true he stiffed you on the pile driver?
Well, he did because Mark was so excited being in Survivor Series, and that was his first time doing the tombstone,
Wow.
and he didn't know how to do it. Now here I am. I'm a pro. I was a pro at it. I mean, I trained these big guys and stuff like that. All Mark could have came to me and said they want me to do the tombstone on. He didn't say nothing to me what they wanted me to do, what they wanted him to do to me at all. He didn't come to me and try to say, "Coco, I'm gonna do this tombstone." You know, when Mark went up with me in the ring, he jumped, and when he jumped, my head slipped out of Mark's thighs, out of his thighs, and and when he came down, my head drove down in the mat
Right.
and didn't hit nothing but just that. I know it's cushion there, but whatever. But there was wood and everything. You know,
The rings used to be a lot stiffer, I heard.
yeah.
Up
That
until
ring.
like 2000.
Yeah, because I had to let Vince had to go out there. Vince told somebody said, "Go out there and get Koko out of the ring. Survivor, we're coming back on live on the next show." And you know what? I couldn't move. And when I got back to the dressing room, and finally got myself together, I went over and told Mark. I said, "If you didn't know how to do it, Mark, why didn't you come to me?" I said, "Brother," he said, "Man, I don't appreciate you trying to break my neck." That was kind of the word because I was a little upset, but but he understood, and we got all that worked out. So you know, I said all you had to do is come to me. I would have showed you how to do that move. He said, "Coco," and he did say, "Coco, I'm sorry that I was so excited, and I never did this move before. You're the first one. I never tried this move, and I'm sorry, man." So what are you gonna do when somebody says they're sorry or
Right.
they don't want they don't want no trouble. They're not trying to stir up no trouble or anything like that. You can't jump on the guy. You can't cuss the guy out. You can't do this to the guy. You got you still got to be a pro to him. You got to be a man and said,
Yeah.
okay, you know, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your feedback on it. You was really good. You came to me as a man, and I believe you. And that's how me and Mark. Now, like I said, we're okay with it.
It sounds like you were pretty feared backstage, but how would you have done against Haku if you guys had an issue?
You know what? I wouldn't have had no issue with Haku because hey, I ain't messing with Haku.
Right.
I'm not because I done seen Haku. I seen him to take what's that guy name?
Jimmy Jack Funk, were you there for that?
Yes, I seen him take his eye out.
Oh, God. Could you tell us that story to finish off? Because I never actually met anyone that was there. Was that at like a bar?
That was in St. Louis. And Jimmy
Okay.
Jack, Funk, he was what it is. He was beating up this girl. He just jumped on this girl, and Haku saw it, and he went over and stopped him, and then they got into it. Well, Haku took his finger, and he ripped his eye out, and it came out. Haku turned around, put the eyeball back in his eye, and took him to the emergency room.
Wow.
And I'm just telling you,
So
Haku's
he'll take
bad
your eye
news.
out, then he'll drive you to the emergency room. So he's a nice guy. He probably saved his eye, right?
Yeah, he saved his eye. Sure
Wow.
did.
What's
Yeah.
he doing now, Jimmy Jack? You never hear from him anymore. Is he still alive?
I have no idea where he's at. I'm sure he's. I hadn't heard that he passed, but he that's what happened to him. When he jumped on that girl, Haku jumped all over him, man. I was there in St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure you could tell us a lot more story. By the way, some people were asking about the Masked Patriot. He talked about that in our first interview. The link is in the description. That's an exaggerated story, and I agree with you on that one. Nothing out of hand happened there. I mean,
Right.
but I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to tell the fans here as we close it off?
Man, I'm just so glad to be on your podcast. I think you got one of the powerful podcast stations out there, man. And just keep up the good work and everything. And it don't matter what people say about you, whatever. Just keep moving, man. Just keep doing good for yourself and for the wrestling business and stuff like that. It's all left up to you. Just you turn this thing to something. It was something small. Now you know what you turn this thing to something real big. It's bigger than life right now. So just keep up the good work, brother.
Great advice, and sing us out, Koko.
Sometimes love, like a slow dance, you can tiptoe around, but don't make a sound. You can make a little silent romance. But sometimes love feels just right. It feels so good. It feels just like a pile driver. Yeah, a pile driver. All right.